Bueno chicos, vamos a empezar. So, good evening. Today on Monday class we have English for import business. The session of today is making presentations. In this case, it would be a business presentation. Okay, so as always, your teacher, Liliana Kipusco. So we will start first by giving the course considerations. Okay, first, you must speak English during the entire conference. Debes de tratar de hablar inglés durante toda la hora de conferencia. Second, you can ask questions during the course of the conference. Puedes realizar preguntas durante el transcurso de la conferencia, eso no hay problema. Si estoy hablando, le haré una pausa y te responderé sus preguntas. Third, I will appreciate you sharing anecdotes, experiences, or problems related to the subject in order to help you. Agradeceré que puedas compartir anécdotas, experiencias o problemas relacionados al tema de hoy para poder ayudarte. And fourth, at the end of each session, we will have an exam of 10 multiple choice questions with 4 alternatives. Al final de cada sesión vamos a tener un examen de 10 preguntas de opción múltiple con 4 alternativas. So, making a business presentation. What do we need to know before making a business presentation? In this case, as usually, we go to the dictionary, right? So, presentation. What presentation means? According to the Cambridge Dictionary, presentation is the act of giving or showing something, or the way in which something is given or shown. Then, according to Oxford Dictionary, presentation is a speech or a talk in which a new product, idea, or piece of work, in this case it can be a service, is shown and explained to an audience. So, Cambridge Dictionary says that it is giving or showing something, right? And on the other hand, Oxford Dictionary, it says that it is a speech or a talk. Now, what are the helpful tips to making a presentation? In this case, a business presentation. There are tips, and I'm gonna give them to you right now. For example, first, we need to have a dress code, and it has to be a smart one. What do you mean by that, teacher? I mean by that you have to dress but not flashy. In this case, you have to dress to not distract the other people. And so you, in this case, like you see here, this is a do. This woman is dressed with a skirt, but it is a long skirt, and she is not showing that much of a cleavage. On the other hand, we have a don't, because she has a very small skirt. So that's an example. Another example could be don't wear earrings for women, especially that are too big or maybe too shiny, because they're going to create a distraction from when you are talking. Another one can be the hair. For example, we usually do a bun, or we have our hair like put down, or maybe a little ponytail, but not be exaggerated. Another one is nails. Usually, we women tend to paint our nails, right? But if we're going to have a business presentation, it is especially to don't use paint our nails like in a too bright color, or colors that are not according, or they don't look professional. Or maybe if we are wearing fake nails, not to wear too long fake nails, because they don't look professional. So, another one, it is a cleavage. In this case, do you know what is cleavage? Escote. In this case, you can use a cleavage, of course, but it doesn't have to be too pronounced. It has to be like subtle. Another one is to be kind, to be nice, with a subtle smile. Why? We usually, and this is something that is happened to me, when I have had business meetings presentations with people, especially that are from the United States, and sometimes there are like high top executives. They are not so usually they don't tend to smile, so when they try to smile they look really creepy, like this guy for example. You see him here. So we have to be subtle. We have to use a subtle smile, una sonrisa sutil. So the person that we are talking to is going to feel comfortable, is going to feel relaxed. Another tip is to be polite. Always to greet appropriately, of course. If we have a more friendly interaction with the person that we're talking to, maybe we can say hi, we can say hello. But if this person, it is not a friend to us, it is the first time that we are meeting him or her, maybe we can greet in the proper way, like saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We can use the word sir, madam. So we have to be really, really polite, especially when with people that we don't know, or it is the first time that we are meeting them, right? Another tip is to be clear. In this case, I mean by clear, to speak clear. Why? Because this course is English for business, right? So we are going to speak to people from other countries, from other cultures. And in this case, English is not our first language, right? It is our second language. So we have to be really clear, speak clear, speak slow, not that slow, take pauses and vocalize. Because if we speak, like, for example, if we are New Yorkers, people from New York, I'm going to speak really loud to you and you're not going to understand what I'm saying, you know? So we have to speak a little more pause, take pauses, and ask the other person, do you understand what I say? So they can give us feedback and we can know that yes, we are talking in a proper way, or maybe we have to speak a little more slowly, or maybe use another kind of word, synonyms. It is really important to do that. Another tip is to consider the culture. In this case, do our research. For example, if we know that we are going to talk maybe to a Japanese businessman, we have to consider their language, right? So we have to know that maybe when we receive their personal business card, we have to do it with both hands, right? Another one, it is, for example, if we're gonna have a lunch, for example, with a Japanese doing a business presentation or a business meeting, uh, in Japanese culture, to put our chopsticks, it is los palillos para comer. For example, if you eat sushi, you probably use chopsticks. So in this case, if we are gonna have a meeting when we are going to be eating, we have to know that Japanese people, they see that putting our chopsticks on the rice is a bad manner. It is considered bad because it is related to the death. So we have to know that. In this case, we have to research before meeting the other person that it is from another culture, to know what it is a do and what it is a don't. Another tip, it is to track your time. For example, if we know that we have a meeting and we have 30 minutes for this meeting, so we have to know how much time am I going to take to greet the person, maybe to do a little to talk a little more, to break the ice, how much time am I going to spend presenting my product or service, how much time am I going to give to maybe asking questions or receive questions. So all of that, it is really important. Then and also to be considered with the time and track our time to finish on time. not just how much time am I gonna give to each part of our presentation, but also to finish in time. Let's remember always that time is money, right? So we have to be considerate with that. Another tip, it is to make eye contact, to keep eye contact. In this case, every time we're talking to someone, we have to keep the eye contact to make the people feel involved and that we are paying attention, and also to receive feedback and know that they are paying attention to us. And maybe if we see that they have an relaxed face, it means that they are understanding what we are saying. Maybe if they have like a interrogate question face, we are going to know that they didn't understand, they are not understanding what we are saying. So we can maybe look for a way to make them understand by using synonyms. Another tip that we can use, it is to walk and make gestures. In this case, to walk around, to move around. If you are in a presentation classroom or office, maybe you have a podium, right? A podium is a podio, where you stand, donde te paras para hablar. So in this case, if we have a podium, let's not stick to the podium, but walk around, walk a little around, get involved with the people, and also to make hand gestures. It means to move our hands, but not so erratic, but just a little hand gesture in order to make them know and to feel comfortable and to feel involved. Finally, a tip that I can give you, it is to ask questions. Not only ask questions, but ask for questions. Maybe which kind of presentation, in a presentation, which questions you can make on a presentation. Maybe you can ask, for example, did you understand what I just said? Or do you feel comfortable with the price that I'm giving you? Do you feel comfortable with the quality that I am offering? Those are kind of questions that you can ask to your supplier or to your supplier or to your client. And on the other hand, always to ask for questions so people can ask you. Maybe you missed something that they need to know and you didn't have it on your presentation, so maybe they can ask you that. Then, also about making a presentation, it is important to have an effective presentation, right? In this case, to know that the person are getting the message right. So in this case, what are the points that you need to do to make an effective presentation? First, you need to connect with the audience. This is really hard because depending on the kind of people, depending how they are, depending if they're in a good mood, depending of their culture, you are going to be able to connect with the audience or not. For example, first, in order to connect with your audience, you need to relax. Know that it is just a presentation and it is going to be maybe just 30 minutes, so you don't have to be uncomfortable or nervous. Then, before talking, take a deep breath. So maybe before you start talking to the people, you can just turn around and make like a and take a deep breath, and then turn around and just start talking. Then you can be enthusiastic. So maybe you can be enthusiastic. So you can just be nice to the people and talk and be how can I explain this to you? By being enthusiastic, I mean that you can smile and you can try to not to be funny, but to be so the people get comfortable with you. Another one is to break the ice. This can be considered almost as being enthusiastic. In this case, to break the ice is maybe you can do a little joke, you can smile a little, you can ask to the other person, for example, a nice question to break the ice. It is to ask how's the weather? Is it the weather here like in your country? Another really good question to ask, or a question to make, small talk to make to break the ice, is to ask to the person that it is from another country, did you like Peruvian food? Is ceviche good? Do you like it? So maybe by that you can make the other person relax and be more open to what you are going to say. Another way to connect to the audience is to always be honest. If you're gonna sell a product, you have to be honest about your product, about your company. Always be honest. Being honest, it is the safest way to get a client or to get a supplier. Then another point to get an effective presentation, it is to focus on the audience. By this, I mean that you need to see faces. When you're talking to someone, you need to know if they're, maybe if you make a joke, do they laugh at the joke? It means that you're going good. Maybe if they are talking and you see that they have like their faces like they are not feeling comfortable, you can know that maybe they are not understanding you, or maybe you made a joke and it was an unpolite joke for them. So in this case, maybe you can turn around your presentation and try to make it a little more, how can I say this? You can try to make it a little more easy for them. I had these problems, like focusing on the audience. Once I was on a meeting with a guy that was Arab, un árabe. My boss was making jokes, like trying to break the ice, but he was with his face like he was looking really angry. But my boss didn't notice that, so he kept making jokes. But I did notice that he was uncomfortable, so I said to my boss, look, he is not making like a good face. He really looks uncomfortable, so maybe you have to stop making jokes, or maybe trying to find out why he feels uncomfortable. So at the end, he did that. My boss stopped making jokes, and then once the meeting finished, we asked him if he was uncomfortable. Maybe he felt in this case, our client felt that the price was too high, or what happened. And it was funny to find out that he was uncomfortable because indeed my boss made a joke that was not good for him according to his personal beliefs. My boss made a joke, but it was kind of a joke, like joking about women, because he thought that if he was Arab, he was going to be a person that likes to make fun about women. And in this case, this person was Arab, but he was not that kind of an Arab. So he was really uncomfortable because he was an Arab, but a new kind of Arab. You know, the people they don't tend to think bad about women, but they tend to think they tend to think that we have the same, we are equals. So in this case, my boss was very he had a thinking of really male chauvinism. Male chauvinism means machista. So in this case, he thought that because the client was Arab, he was going to be a male chauvinism, but he wasn't. So always it is good to focus on the audience, and if we see that he or she is not comfortable, try to turn around and find out why. Another example that I can give you about this, it is that maybe not only when you're saying jokes, but also maybe when in the part of your speech or your presentation that you're giving prices, or maybe charts, or maybe giving them your experiences, to look at their face. Do they feel pleasant? Are they happy, or are they angry? Maybe if they are uncomfortable or angry, it means that maybe your price is too high. So maybe in that point, you can ask, what do you think about my price? It is too high, or is this okay to you? So you can from that make your changes. Maybe you can change your price, you can give them a discount or something like that, right? Then the next point, it is to concentrate on the main message. This means the key or key points, and also an elevator pitch. What do I mean by that? About the key points, it means that when you're giving a presentation, you have to you have to have maximum 3 key points. Tres puntos claves. So you find your presentation, what are you going to give, and find their 3 key points. For example, your 3 points it could be to explain the benefits of your product, to explain the price, and to explain the benefits of the products that they can get. Those are your 3 points. So you're going to turn your presentation, you're going to give your presentation around those 3 points. Another one, it is an elevator pitch. In this case, we have seen you can find this on your virtual classroom that I think it is session 9. We saw elevator pitch and we saw a video how to make an elevator pitch. It means that it is some kind of a speech that will only take from 20 to 30 seconds, in which you are going to give the key points again, the key points that we talk about, but only in a few words. So you can get the attention from your client or your supplier, and you can make them interested in what you're saying, and they're going to pay attention to you from now on. Okay, so maybe for this we're going to ask Aldair to give us the link to the class, so you can see this on your classroom, on your virtual classroom. Aldair, no sé si podrías ayudarnos dándonos lo de la clase para que ellos puedan revisar también en su aula virtual lo que hablamos del elevator pitch. No sé si podrías darnos el link por acá. Aldair, ¿estás por ahí? Listo, entonces Aldair nos va a pasar ahorita. Aldair is going to give us in a few seconds the link, so you can see on your virtual class about the elevator pitch, and you can learn how to make one. Another effective presentation tip, it is the 10-20-30 rule. Remember, 10-20-30 rule. This is a rule that it is especially so you can have a really effective presentation that is not going to take that long of time, that you are not going to bore the person that you're talking to, right? So in this case, 10-20-30 rule, it means 10 for 10 slides, 20 for 20 minutes that you're going to take to make your presentation, and 30 for 30 points. In this case, 30 point means the font size. Do you know what font size is? ¿Saben qué es un font size? In this case, font size means el tamaño de la letra de tu diapositiva, por ejemplo. So, by this it means that for your presentation, you're only going to take 10 slides, 10 diapositivas, and you're going to take 20 minutes for 10 slides. So, it is 2 minutes for each slide. 2 minutos para cada diapositiva. And also you're going to use a 30-point font size. Un tamaño de fuente, tamaño de letra, número 30. Okay, this is really important. It is not obligatory, of course, but it is what usually people that tend to do a lot of presentations and they study how to give an effective presentation, it is what they recommend. And finally, it is to enjoy. This is the most important. Remember, the most important point of an effective presentation, it is to enjoy. You are giving a presentation. It doesn't have to be a life or death situation. It has to be something that you enjoy because you are selling, or maybe you are getting a supplier, and this is what you do for life, right? This is what you're going to do to make money and to make your life happy. So you have to enjoy it because it is going to be only 20 minutes of your life. So you don't have to be miserable. You have to relax, take a deep breath, and then just enjoy. Because if you are enjoying something, being relaxed, if something comes up, maybe a problem or something, you're going to be on a state of mind to be able to resolve it easily. Now that we have talked about the tips, it is time to talk about structure. How are you going to make your slides? So first, you have to have an introduction, then you're going to have an argument, and finally you're going to have a conclusion. Remember that it doesn't mean that you're going to have only 3 slides, because we already talked about before that it is recommended to have 10 slides. So your 10 slides are going to be divided in these 3 structures, 3 points of structure. So first, on the introduction part, you can make a welcome. You can just greet the person, you can welcome them, and then you're going to give your main objectives. You're going to explain what you will be talking about this day or that day. Then you're going to give your argument. In this case, it means that you're going to develop the main points, and then you're going to use variety. By variety, I mean that you can use graphics, you can use anecdotes, you can use charts, you can use your experiences, and of course you're going to use what you're going to explain, what you're going to write, right? So you have to try to use as much, because if you have only a presentation that only has letters, it's going to be really boring, and you're going to lose the attention of the people you're talking to. So you have to use graphics, but always put who are they from, especially for business presentation. If you're using a graphic that you made, put that it is your own elaboration. If it is a graphic that it is from someone else, put who's the author. And another one is anecdotes. You can write anecdotes, but by this also anecdotes means maybe you can use a picture and maybe you can explain the anecdote or the experience. In this case, by anecdotes and experience, in the case of a business, it means especially the projects that you have made, or maybe the clients that you had. So the person that you're talking to can know a little more which are the people, which are the companies that you work with. And another one is charts. Do you know what chart mean? In this case, charts, it means cuadros de presentación, the ones that you make on Excel. So in this case, if you're going to be using charts, you have to be very careful, because you have to use charts that are easy to read. Remember that when you are talking, the person is not only listening to you, but is also reading what you have on the slide, right? So you have to use charts that maybe when you are talking to the person, he or she is going to be able to read the chart and understand it. Also, a very important point here, it is that if you're going to have main points and develop them, remember that these main objectives that you're going to talk about here and then you're going to develop here, they have to be maximum three key points. Then, finally, you're going to make a conclusion. In the conclusion, you have to summarize all what you talked about before. You're going to summarize it in a few words, or maybe a few checks. Then, in this part, you can ask for questions. If people don't have questions, maybe you can have a special slide to put where are the questions that you have for them. So maybe in this case, you can put one slide that says, why I have this kind of quality, and you can start talking and explaining why you have that kind of quality, or maybe about the price or something according to the product or the service that you are selling. Can you hear me now? Aldair, ¿me pueden escuchar? Se cortó muy... Aldair, por favor, confírmame si es que pueden escucharme bien. Listo, ok, entonces sí. ¿Ahora sí? Ok, listo. Entonces seguimos. Let's continue. So I was telling you that it is really important at the end of any presentation that you have, maybe a business presentation, maybe if you have a presentation for your college or for your school or for a classroom like today, it is always important to thank. For example, I was telling you, at the end of this session, I thank you for your attention on the slide. So maybe you can use one of your 10 slides, or maybe you can use 11 slides for this case. And the 11th one, you are going to thank for their attention. It is really important. It is something that we took for granted. We don't notice, but we always see this. Now, finally, what kind of presentation? What do I mean for presentation? We already seen that in here it says that it's a speech or a talk or giving or showing something, right? But what do I use as a presentation? What is important to use as a presentation? In this case, it is important maybe to use a PPT, a PowerPoint presentation. Also, you can use a flip chart. By flip chart, have you seen maybe flip charts in your life? Have you ever seen them? Saw them? By flip charts, it means those kind of big paper, like papelógrafos that you put on a platform, and you just roll each page. So in this case, you will have a presentation, but that it is already maybe written or printed in a big paper. The next one is maybe you don't have a PPT or you don't have a flip chart. Maybe you can use a brochure. So by this you can maybe use a little brochure, or maybe if you have a big brochure you can use it too, and maybe you can give the person that you're talking to the brochures, and you can start explaining and making your own speech so they can follow you from your brochure. And finally, if you don't have these ones, you can use each one individually, or maybe you can use all at the same time. If you don't have those ones, you can give a verbal presentation. It is okay too. Finally, how much time do I need to use for my product or business or service presentation? Specialists say that it is important to use a 15-minute product or service presentation. In this case, how is the structure? How do we divide the 15 minutes? First, we have to use a 1-minute introduction. In this 1-minute introduction, we are going to say what are we going to talk about. We're going to explain the people that we are talking to, maybe our client or our supplier. What are we going to talk about in this presentation? Then you can give a 2 minutes on challenges. By challenges, I mean you can give a speech and you can speak about your company. In this case, how is your company going economic wise? Who are your competitors, if you feel comfortable by speaking and saying them? Where are the potential areas? Also about competitors, you can say here your clients. Who are your clients? Then, which are your potential areas for growth? Maybe we can say for example, if we are a company that we manufacture some kind of product, we can say we have like a good revenue, so from this we can buy on the future more modern machines to make a better product. So this is a potential area for growth. Then you can talk about the benefits of the pros of the service you are giving, that you are explaining. Also, you can give the disadvantages, but always, if you are giving the disadvantages, you always have to give what is the solution that you give, or what are the measures that you're going to take for these disadvantages. Because if you just give disadvantages by themselves, it is going to look like a negative point, and you are obviously selling a product or service, so you don't want to give a negative point of view. So if you're talking about disadvantages that it is usually seen as a negative point, you have to give a solution for it. Then we have 3 minutes, right? Now you're going to use 4 minutes on the product or service that you're selling. You're going to explain about the product or service that you're selling. Maybe you can show some samples, algunas muestras. You can give these samples so they can understand and they can see by themselves what are you talking about, what are you selling. Or maybe you can show pictures. By here we have already 7 minutes. Then the next 6 minutes you're going to give evidence. By this means, if you're talking about a product, maybe you talk about the benefits that you give, maybe you talk about the clients that you have. In these 6 minutes of evidence, you can maybe put some pictures of the clients that you have. If you feel comfortable by talking about your revenues, maybe you can talk about your revenues. If you have charts or you have graphics that show how is your company growing, maybe you can put them here. Also, if you have, for example, some kind of certificates, maybe you have an ISO or something like that, or this kind of certificates, you can put the evidence in here so they can see that your company is a serious company. Now, the two last points, as you can see, it is the conclusion part that we saw here, the third part. So in these 2 final minutes, you can use 1 minute to summary the key points. Again, to explain all what you have said before, but just in 1 minute. It is an art. It is considered to be an art to summarize something. So you have to prepare for this and do it with time. And finally, you can use your last minute for asking questions or for asking for questions. Like I said, what kind of questions can you ask someone when you're giving the presentation? Maybe you can ask if they feel okay with the price, if they maybe they need a discount, if they feel good with the product, with the quality, with the lead time that you are going to give. You could talk about these points in asking questions. And obviously, finally, you can ask 4 questions so they can let you know if maybe they have questions about the price, or maybe they have questions why you're going to take so much of a time by giving the product or something like that. Again, remember that these 15 minutes, it is not obligatory to only use 15 minutes. You can use more, because we saw earlier here, let me show you. We saw here, we saw here that we have a 10-20 rule, right? In here I'm giving you an explanation of a 15 minutes presentation, but if you need more, you can use more. Of course, if you have an hour presentation, they have given you an hour, try to use the hour, but try to make it comfortable and pleasant, so the person that you're talking to is not going to feel boring. Okay? So finally, another point that I can give you a tip in here, in concentrate the main words and focus on the audience, is to, especially in this, I can give you 2 more examples. For example, it is to catch your audience attention. By this I mean that maybe you can make a statement, or make you use a joke. I have 2. For the speech, for the statement part, I have an example of this was a Japanese guy that we met. He was our supplier, so he was selling to us. And before speaking to us, to the company that I was represented, he said that he he talked from his heart. He said to us that he tried to do business like he was making personal relationships, and he always used his heart for that. So for us to make business with him, he was going to treat us like a family. So we will make sure that he was going to be true and be honest from his heart. And this was his elevator pitch. So he really got our attention because we never ever heard someone talking in a business presentation in that way. So it was um, a very catching attention method that he used. Another one that we saw that I have seen, it is a joke. For example, I used to work with a company that had products that in the past had problems and they used to break. And when they visit the new clients or clients to present their products, they used to joke about this problem that they had. So every time they went to someone new or someone old, an old client, they tend to give souvenirs, right? Like pencils, pen, and every time they give a pencil, they say, "Don't worry that this is not going to break because this is made with our new politic of all quality before giving someone checking the quality." So some people, not eventually, but always the people used to laugh at this, especially the people that used to know that this company had a problem with quality and the product broke. So it was really funny, and it was a very funny joke, but also it was a risky one because maybe someone could take it in a bad way and saying, "Hey, you're talking about that you keep making products that are going to break." So if you're going to make a joke and focus on your audience and catch their attention, you have to be careful to always catch your clients or suppliers' attention, but don't be that risky like this experience that I have told you. Try to be always on the safe side, and if you're going to make a risky move, try to evaluate it first. Okay? So now we're gonna see a video. Okay? This video means is going to talk about how we give presentation. In this case, how to give a PowerPoint, an awesome and powerful presentation. So I'm going to share to you my screen. You're going to let me know. Oh, wait. You're going to let me know if you can see my screen, okay? And if you can hear also. Aldair, déjame saber si pueden ver por favor bien la pantalla. La estoy compartiendo para poder ver un video. ¿Se ve bien? Listo, entonces le voy a dar a play.
Around the world every day, thousands if not millions of people give presentations. Some are great and have a powerful impact on their audiences. Others, well, let's just say they're works in progress. Sometimes supplements. Why did he fancy? Yeah, what usually turned out to be a bit of a shark. times this or hasn't done these presentations, but he does try to limit each slide to one key idea, or depending on the content. Sometimes so it's easy to follow. He always looks for visual ways to tell the story, supporting images and text, charts and graphs. Sometimes he uses quotes. But he tries to remember that people can't read the slides, usually listen at the same time. Jim still uses plenty of text to help him remember what he wants to say, but he hides it in his notes that only he sees. Jim's approach takes more time, energy, and rehearsal. It's been well worth the effort. His audiences are now much more engaged and better understand patients. And, as if that weren't enough, his pocketbook doesn't lie either. This is our presentation, simply stated.
Okay, so in this video we saw that how to give a PowerPoint presentation. For example, he says that the guy in this case, Jim, he says that you have to use one idea for one slide. It is recommended to use that, but in the case that you cannot do this because you have to give more ideas in one slide, you have to make them easy to follow. Also, as we said that we have a three structure of 3 points, he also uses three: a beginning, a middle, and an end. Also, always to focus on the story that we're going to tell. And finally, to use clear graphic and charts, because the people, if someone is listening to us, is not going to be able to read and listen at the same time effectively. So if we're going to be speaking and showing some charts or graphics, they have to be clear so they can understand it better. So finally, we're going to make a brief summary of what we saw today. So first, we saw what is a presentation. It means that it is giving or showing something or a speech or talk in which we're going to present a new product or service. Then we saw some tips to make eye contact, to be polite, to dress accordingly, and tips to make an effective presentation. In this case, remember the 10-20 rule, and always the most important, it is to enjoy, right? We have to enjoy what we are doing. Then we saw the structure. It is important to use the structure if we're giving a presentation. In this case, in the video, we saw that we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But in this case, I'll give you a structure that is focused on a business presentation. So in this case, you're going to give an introduction, an argument, and a conclusion. And finally, we saw how can we give a 15-minute presentation, a structure divided in minutes. So we saw that we have to take some kind of minutes to give an introduction, to present our challenges, more minutes on presenting the product and giving the evidence, and just a few minutes at the end to give a summary and ask for questions. And finally, we saw the video where he explains how to give a presentation in general, and also that we are able not only to use maybe a PPT, a flip chart, or a brochure, or a handout, a paper, but also we can only give a verbal presentation. If we're going to use only a verbal presentation, it has to be a really good one. So in this case, we are not going to have anything in physics to support what we are saying. So we have to be very conscious and prepare ourselves so we are not going to bore the people. It's not going to be boring. Okay? So finally, these are the references where I took to make the class of today. You can review them later. You're going to find all the information in here. There's a lot more information that you can find in here for your business presentation. It is in English. And finally, I want to thank you for your attention. Today's session was making a presentations. So now I'm going to give you the link for the PPTs. Les voy a dar ahora el link para las PPTs para que puedan tener el material. This is the link for the PPTs. Ese es el link para las PPTs. And then I'm going to give you the link to the exam that you're going to take as we spoke. As we said before, it is, remember, it is an exam of 10 multiple choice questions with 4 alternatives. So this exam is going to be according to what we have saw today in all the slides and what we have talked about today. So after the session ends, you can review again the slides, see again the video, so you can take your exams. Al terminar puedes volver a ver la presentación, volver a revisar las PPTs que te he mandado para que puedas dar tu examen. And finally, we're going to give you a link for a survey that the guys at CAMEX are asking us to give you, so you can let us know and give us some feedback. Al final pueden ver este link de la encuesta para que puedan darnos un feedback como CAMEX pide. And now I'm going to ask Aldair to give you the link to the class, so maybe you can follow us and see the other material on your class, on your virtual classroom. Aldair, ¿podrías pasarnos una vez más, por favor, el link para que puedan ver el material de que tienen en su material virtual, en su clase virtual, en su aula virtual? So Aldair is going to give us that, so you can see it there on your classroom. Aldair, por favor, pásanos el link de nuevo para el aula virtual. Listo. So here it is the link, so you can check your virtual class and you can find all what we have talked about in previous sessions. Okay? Perfect. So remember that we always have classes on Monday and we also have classes on Thursdays. I think in there it is the schedule of the classes. Aldair, ahí está el cronograma de las clases, ¿cierto? De todas las clases de inglés, ¿cierto? Sí, perfect. Okay, so we are going to see there in the link there all the classrooms, all the classes that we have. Especially the one that I give, it is on Thursdays. And also we have classes for import classes that are also all in Spanish, that those are on Friday from 8 to 9. También tenemos clases los viernes que son también para lo que son de importación, pero esas sí son dadas completamente en el idioma español y son los días viernes. Y como les decía, las clases en inglés, las sesiones para lo que es el curso de inglés para importaciones conmigo son los jueves de 8 a 9 de la noche también. Y ahí lo van a poder revisar en el link de Inglés Empresarial. En este link, Aldair, también podemos ver lo de los otros cursos, o eso lo pasas por otro lado. Aldair, ahí también podemos ver la clase de los otros cursos, por ahí lo puedes pasar, por favor, si no le mandan un correíto a Aldair, a ver, el correíto de los chicos, si es que tienen alguna consulta, se lo pueden pasar y él también me lo hace llegar. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, it was the signal cut off. Se cortó la señal. So I was telling you, you can write to Aldair on asabino@camexperu.org.pe if you have any questions, and he's going to let me know your doubts or your questions that you have. Le puedes escribir a Aldair y Aldair me va a hacer llegar las dudas que puedas tener para poder verlas en las siguientes clases. Listo, chicos, sin más que decirles, les agradezco por su atención el día de hoy. Espero que les haya gustado la clase. Ha sido cómo realizar una presentación para el curso de inglés para importaciones. Espero verlos, el día jueves, de nuevo, de 8 a 9, ¿sí? Listo, se cuidan. Un abrazo, gracias.